Okay, a warm welcome to our Festival of Business Week of Burton and Cannock events. So the Festival of Business events are going on from June the 1st through to the 30th, and they're being held in lieu of the physical exhibitions which we're unable to host due to COVID restrictions. So as part of the festival, members of the Chambers are encouraged to attend a number of the webinars and virtual events being hosted as part of the campaign. So the events are focusing on showcasing the benefits of doing business with members of the Chambers and the key issues facing member businesses. So as you good people know, we've got 10 divisions under the Greater Birmingham Chambers of Commerce, so you can go to any of the events across the month. And our headline sponsor for the Burton and Cannock events are Aston University. So the event that you're attending today is held by the Stoke-on-Trent Staffordshire Growth Hub, and it's Meet the Experts. So just to give you a bit of recap on who we are. So the Stoke-on-Trent Staffordshire Growth Hub is one of 38 local enterprise partnership-led growth hubs across England that bring together and simplify access to national and local business support. The Growth Hub advisors can give you free advice, which is delivered by the Staffordshire Chambers of Commerce. The Business Helpline and Growth Hub team maintain thorough knowledge of local, national, and even international opportunities to help businesses to grow. Collaboratively working with over 120 referral partners of business, innovation, trade support, grant, debt, and equity finance, offering impartial support to you, and we'll take you through a range of potential business solutions. And like I've mentioned there, there's no catch. It is complete free funded support with over 120 referral partners, unless you go for, a specific enterprise grant, which obviously you have to match funds. So our Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire business model is evolving enterprise. So this model here, if I can just take you around it. So step one would be to call the business helpline, and you'd speak with Becky Parker, we're all qualified business advisors. So the helpline offers a comprehensive triage service, which unlocks a funded support. So Becky will have that initial quick conversation with you. And then on to step two, you'll then be signposted to an accredited business advisor, which will complete a one-to-one diagnostic with you, which identifies your support needs. So I wear two hats in the organisation. I work for the Greater Birmingham Chambers and look after Burton and Cannock, same as Max, my colleague. And also I'm a Growth Hub business advisor for Southern Staffs for the Stoke and Staffordshire Growth Hub. So at step two, you'll be signposted to a business advisor. So if it was myself doing the diagnostic with you in the South Staff, which covers Burton, Uttoxeter, Cannock, Lichfield and Tamworth, and if I find that you'd need marketing support or HR, then I would refer you on to our specialist advisors, which you're going to hear from the team shortly. Okay, so moving on, the first project, sorry, Suzanne. My fault, there we go. I'm going to introduce you across to Suzanne and Abby, who are going to explain about the Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire Skills Hub and what support they can offer you. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Suzanne, and I run the Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire Skills Hub. So we're one of the many referral partners that Pam discussed that the Growth Hub work with. So we're through a diagnostics, it's identified that you need skills or training and there's issues around your staff and upskilling or skill shortages or funding in ways of supporting that training, then that is why obviously we would then receive that referral. Okay, so if you want to put the next slide on, Pam. So the courses or the way that we operate is that we have skills advisors that will do a similar thing to a Growth Hub, but they will do a needs analysis for businesses, but just look at your staffing structure. What are your needs? Talk through about different training options. So whether that's a short-term course, a long-term course, is it a specialised course bespoke to your company? So we will talk through different apprenticeship processes. So if that's going to be the right option for you, whether there's fully funded courses that we can signpost you to. Or like this slide that demonstrates, there's a number of different bespoke courses that we offer and that are going to be specialist to your business, and it's going to help your business grow if your staff are fully trained using those systems. So a lot of it comes around software, so things like Xero or Creo 5, where it's specialised to your business and you want people to operate specific machinery or to operate a way of working, or maybe if there's something that you currently outsource, things like ISO, where you may have a consultant that come in but you want to bring that in-house, then these sorts of training that we can help support, and we would fund that through a grant. So if you go to the next slide, what we can do is I'm not sure if, yeah, that's right. So we have a grant that we can offer through the Skills Hub, which is at 48% of the cost. And this is to a maximum of £5,000 worth of training. In terms of eligibility, the only criteria that we follow is that you are an SME and you are based within Staffordshire. So we don't have any restrictions in terms of sectors or what sort of training that you're looking for. So as long as you're an SME, which means you have a turnover of less than 50 million euros or less than 250 staff, then we will be able to support you in a grant. The only type of training that we can't support is things that are licenses or legal requirements that are mandated within the role, but anything else, there is a grant opportunity. As I said, at the moment we have the Skills Hub offer a 48% grant that we can offer for the training, and you can submit multiple applications on that basis. So if you wanted your accounts department or somebody within accounts to learn on the system, then you would be able to put one application in that, but you'd also be able to put an application in for your sales staff or for your engineering or drivers or anything like that. So every piece of training can be classed as a new project and can be classed as a new opportunity to submit a grant application. What we also have is at the moment where we can offer 100% grants, which is an amazing offer and is very, very unique to the Staffordshire region. So if you are based within Cannock and Lichfield, Burton, we can support you with 100% of the cost of your training up to £5,000, which you probably won't find in any other region at the moment. So this is something that's, you know, we should really, really be proud of as an area, that we are being able to put these sorts of packages together for businesses. So how that works is it's still just a one application process, and for you, you will just receive your money. For us, it means that some of it's paid through the ESF, which is the 48%, and then the other is actually contributed by your local authority. So whether that's Cannock Chase, whether that's Lichfield District, or any of the other areas within Staffordshire. And that's how we can come up to the 100% funding. It's still topped at £5,000, but obviously, you know, training that costs over £5,000, that's a huge project for any SME. So in most cases, we are able to offer 100% grants up to £5,000. This is limited to just one application per business, but there's nothing to say you can't put in one application for 100% and then future applications at 48%. Currently, the way that the funding is operated, we've only got that for training that can complete by October of this year. So we are looking at short courses or a few months courses, but we are hoping that that will be extended shortly. And that's it. If you want to go to the next slide. So, for example, we've worked with Townhouse Communications and they've had a couple of grants through us. And he's given us a quote just to say, because sometimes companies look at the application process or think it's going to be really, really difficult. Now, I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to deny that there isn't forms that need to be filled in, but we've got user guides, we've tried to make it as clear and as straightforward as possible. And every step of the way, we are happy to answer your questions and we will support you in any way we can. The forms may seem a bit lengthy, but there is reasons we have to, you know, we're giving away money that's given to us by European funding, so therefore we have to make sure the checks are in place. What we can also do is help source the different training. So if you're sitting there thinking, well, I need some sales training or I need some software training, now then we have a bank of what's different delivery providers that we work with. So if you want to go to the next slide then, please, Pam. So on our website, we have over 70 different delivery providers that are operating through the Skills Hub. So these providers, some of them are national organisations that have sites in Staffordshire, and some of these are sole traders or specialist training providers, all based within Staffordshire. And on the left-hand side of our website, you can see we have a provider directory. All these providers have gone through a due diligence process. So rather than just finding somebody on Google, you know that these companies have evidence to us what sort of training that they can deliver, what sort of feedback that they've had. We've checked things like their credentials, CVs, their ability to offer their training. So there's a bit more security in using one of our providers. If you were not sure about the training that you wanted, you can call the helpline and speak to one of our skills advisors who would be able to go through a series of checks with you to find out the specific training, or you can do a simple search on our website. So if you were to type in something, so the example I've got on the next slide, if you want to move it, Pam, is on a sales side of it, and then it will bring up the different providers that we work with in the region, and it will tell you what sort of training that they offer. Now, if you were to click on one of these options, it will tell you how long the course is for, possibly how much it's going to be. Some of the prices aren't included because obviously it's going to be bespoke to your business, so it's quite difficult to give a ballpark figure, and it will depend on how many staff that you want to train and whether at what level. You know, is this an introductory to sales, or is this for sales managers, or is it face-to-face telesales and things like that? So there's a whole array of different courses, but what you'll be able to do is see that these companies that we work with, these are just a sample of them. And they've gone through all the credentials with ourselves. But if you were to contact any of these businesses and say, this is what I'd like, they'd be able to put a package together, and they'd also support you with the application form to get a grant, really, in any of the sectors that you want. And as I said, there's multiple grants available. And if you need to contact, obviously, I know Pam will probably forward away all the details or our contact details, but we can help identify the training that you need. We can help signpost you to the different training providers, or if it's more not a sales course, but apprenticeships, funding, anything to do with sales and training, then we'd be able to support you moving forward. And that's it. So short and sweet, but hopefully I've answered all the details. These are just my contact details. So it's the Skills Hub at Staffordshire Chambers, and the helpline number as well. But I'm sure Pam will send out everything if you need us moving forward.
That's awesome. Thank you, Suzanne. Thanks very much for that overview. Just to reiterate, so at the end of the session, we will be sending out all the slides, so don't worry about making loads of notes. If you do have any questions as we go along, after our third presentation, so it'll be after Aletha with the Department for International Trade, we'll do a Q&A for 5 minutes. So please pop your questions in the chat box, and then we'll revisit them after Aletha's presentation. Thank you. Okay, so I'm now going to introduce Amanda, which is our HR specialist, which looks after any HR issues. So over to you, Amanda. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, everybody. So yeah, my name's Amanda Swan. I'm a Growth Hub HR advisor, and I cover the Staffordshire area. I've worked in HR for more than 15 years, and during that time I've worked with a range of business sectors. Next slide, please. Thank you. So how can I help your business? So I can complete a one-to-one meeting with yourselves, either by phone call or video call, hopefully in the future maybe face-to-face as well. This time is fully funded and there is no cost to your business, as Pam's already explained. I can give guidance on areas that your business may be exposed in terms of employment legislation, and I'll leave you with advice and signposting that is applicable to your specific business at this time. Next slide, please, Pam. Thanks. So I just wanted to take you very briefly through a couple of hot topics of things that I regularly get calls about at the moment. So in terms of recruitment, just to give you an idea of the things that we look at. So do you need to recruit for your business? Do you need support setting up a new employee for the first time? Do you know what ID checks you need to complete for a new starter and to keep on your records? Are you aware of the cost involved in addition to an employee's salary that would come through to your business? Are you and your line managers trained in the recruitment and selection process? That just gives you an idea of some of the questions that we ask around recruitment, which some businesses have found quite useful, whether they're taking on the first employee for the first time or they're expanding their current workforce. Next slide, please, Pam. Okay, just a couple of notes regarding the coronavirus job retention scheme. I know a lot of us are probably quite familiar with it now, but I do look at, you've got any employees that are still currently furloughed? Are you aware of the forthcoming changes to the scheme in terms of contributions from employers? Are you still communicating with your furloughed employees? I know some businesses have still got a number of employees that are still furloughed, and making sure we're still making those business communications with them. Have you planned any training for furloughed employees? Obviously, this is something that Suzanne's team can help with as well. We have got other referral partners that we can use, but if we've got employees that are currently still furloughed, we can still provide them with training during that time. And have they taken any annual leave? That's something we get asked around quite often. What are the rules in terms of annual leave for furloughed employees? So again, just a very brief overview of the furlough scheme. Last hot topic, just to touch on very briefly, I quite often talk to businesses about management training. So are yourselves, annual line managers, trained in dealing with difficult conversations in the workplace? Are you aware of your responsibilities as an employer in terms of equality and diversity? So is there any monitoring undertaken in your business? Do you have policies to support this? As we said there, are your managers trained to understand? Are your line managers fully aware of your employment policies, and are they trained to implement them? So have you got grievance and disciplinary policies in place? Have you got a sickness absence process which is clear for all employees? And equally, are your line managers experienced in actually implementing these policies? These are just the kinds of things that I can support you with. I can help you with documentation, and again, as we've said, to back up that with some really good training. Okay, so that was a really whistle-stop tour, but that's just a few hot topics that come up a lot at the moment. I know Pam's going to send our contact details through, but if you think that it would be useful for us to spend some time together, just come through to us at the business inquiries email, and we could book some time in our diaries. Thank you.
Smashing. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you very much. The next company I'm going to introduce is Alethea from Department of International Trade. Hello, Alethea, are you with us?
Morning.
Hello.
If you want to increase your sales and sell internationally, think of the Department for International Trade. I'm Alethea Burton, International Trade Advisor, Head of Department for International Trade. So we're a government organisation that helps UK companies succeed internationally. The service is delivered locally by international trade advisors up and down the UK. Nationally by our sector teams out of London, and internationally by our colleagues at the British embassies, high commissions and consulates worldwide. So when we work with a company, we look at their current state of play. So are you new to export? Are you currently exporting but would like to increase this? Or are you a key experienced exporter looking for unique, bespoke opportunities to your company? We can help you at all levels there, and there are many opportunities. And as it says there, the support is ongoing. So as and when you need us, please contact us, and we can put you in touch with your local international trade advisor within your region. Next slide, please, Pam. And this is just to show our global network, our global presence. So as you can see, there's almost 3,000 staff. So there's somebody somewhere who can help you out within your sector for your company. And just to note that we do work with Chambers of Commerce overseas as well. And also worth noting is the British Centres for Business in Dubai. So Joe Hepworth runs this. So if you look into the Middle East to export as a key market, we can put you in touch with Joe's team out there. Next slide, please. So what are the perceived barriers when exporting? There's just a handful there, and I'm sure you can think of many more. And please do challenge your local international trade advisor, or feel free to put any perceived barriers in the chat comments. So do I need to speak the particular language of the country I'm exporting to? Do I understand the culture? How will I get paid? Will I use letters of credit? Will it be 50% upfront payment? How will I find my clients overseas? What does my ideal client look like? How can I complete the export documentation? Do I understand the key paperwork that's involved with exporting, and particularly now in light of Brexit and transition? Can I fulfill all the orders? Do I have a customs warehouse, for example? Do I have the actual capacity in place? Also, do I need to visit the market, as we've been doing now on a Zoom call or over MS Teams meetings? And I have worked with a company who have actually landed a successful deal out in Switzerland, and the whole meeting was done over Zoom and Teams with absolutely no visit. So that's a great success story there. Do I need to look at e-commerce and online trading? Is my website geared up for international trade? And also again, look at sort of time frames and time zones. As we kind of finish the UK working day, 5, 6, 7 PM of an evening, do I then have staff in place to open up and look at calls from the US, for example? Next slide, please, Pam. So those are just a couple of barriers, and for all the barriers and challenges, there's opportunities and solutions that Department for International Trade can offer. And there's just a few there, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but at the start, as I mentioned, please speak to your local trade advisor. But I'd just like to highlight the International Grant Fund that's available. So this was launched just towards the end of last year, and it's to help with companies' export strategy. There are terms and conditions and eligibility. So again, please do check these, but the grant is available up to £9,000 on a match funded basis. And currently companies are using this towards translation work, web development, some consultancy fees can be used in this as well. So again, worth to do some research into that. And also have a look at the great.gov.uk website. As I mentioned, our colleagues overseas, the British Embassy's High Commissions, they're looking for export opportunities for companies like yourselves, and they're doing some great research out there, so you can sign up to kind of a business alerts to get the information. Next slide, please, Pam. And then again, when Pam sends the slides out to you, here's some key links there, again, to support the transition process, so info on how to export and import your goods. Obviously classifying your goods, so the tariff code lookup facilities, really useful there. And obviously now that we're out of the EU, every export now needs a customs declaration. So again, information on there. Next slide, please, Pam. And I just wanted to finish off, one of the companies that I work with, I've been working with them now for 8 years, and the company's Adfield Environmental Systems. They're an animal incinerator company. And they've now in over 100 export markets from key work, working on their strategy with them. So I just asked the MD, Derek Carr, and he's just put his top tips up there. And again, I'll just leave those there for you to review. But I just wanted to finish, please. Next slide, please, Pam. And just a bit of a success story, really. So pre-COVID, the company had a visit from the Tunisian ambassador, and he went over to have a factory tour. And as the MD always says, people will come to the factory, visitors, potential clients, and everyone tends to turn to a bit of a Churchill nodding dog and say, oh yes, that looks really interesting, without actually understanding the functionality or the concept of a product. But what they actually did here were they're manufacturing camel incinerators. So it's a bit of a jovial subject, but also it was something to be remembered by. So we always say, no matter how silly or how quirky the story might be, always be remembered. It's a great success story. It's now the company are exporting to Tunisia and have an ongoing relationship. And it just means that now when they pick the phone up to key contacts overseas, oh, this is Derek Carr, and you're the animal incinerator company, and we know straight away who you are and exactly what you do. So always be remembered as a key message, and for all your exporting needs, please contact Department for International Trade. Thank you.
That's brilliant, Alita. Thank you very much for that. And I spoke to Adfield actually a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, fantastic growing company with such a diverse operation, obviously around animals. Okay, just before we go into the next presentation, has anybody, excuse me, let me stop sharing. Has anybody got any questions they'd like to ask the Skills Hub, Abby or Suzanne, or HR with Amanda or Alethea? This is a really good time to fire any questions at them. If you want to unmute yourselves and fire away, you're happy to do that. I'll just check.
Gary here from Warwick Manufacturing Group. I have spoke to Suzanne offline, and I have passed on and having separate meetings internally with how Warwick Manufacturing Group could help with the 5K and training. Just to let her know is that, you know, I'm trying to set up a follow-up meeting around that to explore that avenue a little bit more. But you know, generally all very good stuff, including I'm really interested in the 9K grants there for international trade as well. Which I can signpost people to going forward. So really useful.
That's great, Gary, because it's available until December 2022. So there's quite a bit of time for that grant. So yeah, please do go ahead, promote that. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Lovely, thank you, Gary. Has anybody else got any questions for Amanda or Suzanne or Alethea? All good? All happy? Yeah? Okay. Okay, sorry, there we go. I'm going to introduce now Alan Bloomfield, who is our Specialist Digital Business Advisor. So over to you, Alan.
Thanks, Pam. Yeah, hi, my name's Alan Bloomfield. New role really for well, for myself and the Chamber actually. Started back in sort of November now. And that was about obviously digital transformation and what that's going to bring for local business. My background is I've done over 30 years at BT, so I've been both in engineering as well as management and customer advice as well, in terms of building voice data solutions, voice over IP solutions for customers. Lewis unfortunately is not here today because he's running part of the Do Digital campaign, and there's an event going on at the moment, so he's over there. So Lewis has joined this year, actually sort of complements my skills actually, because Lewis's skills is more web development, web analysis of your website, that sort of thing. So in terms of like the end-to-end process that we can offer is quite a broad reach really. Just very briefly, the digital transformation YouTube video, you can actually get that, and it's just really a bit of an overview in terms of as it says there, really it's not the strongest of the species that survives or the most intelligent. It's those people who can adapt to change. Truthfully, as we've just seen with COVID, I mean, those businesses that got people back home, back working online, working on Teams, which we were all not used to, including myself really, although I've worked in the business for a long time. You know, I think a lot of us have seen the benefits of being able to do that, and the fact that we've been able to, you know, move quickly, we've been able to keep businesses alive. I appreciate some businesses have struggled, and that's hopefully where our programs will come in. So onto the next slide, Pam, please. So this is the support that's available in Stoke and Staffordshire. So first of all, the local council did, there was a survey done a few years ago around, in fact a couple of years ago, around local digital skills. And obviously it was identified that there had been a gap in digital skills and digital jobs across the region and support that businesses need. So this scheme is ERDF funded. The IPBEP scheme, as you can see there, Information Technology Business Enhancement Programme. And what that offers is myself or Lewis or both will come to your business, whether it's on Teams or whether it's a site visit. We'll look at the process of how you run your business. We'll look at whether there's any gaps there, whether there's anywhere that you can use digital technology to either transform, to streamline your business, and to be able to use the staff that you've got doing more productive and driving that business, as opposed to, you know, reducing that business. Funny enough, when I first started this role, was back in November, I did actually think that a lot of it would be down to doing what we're doing now, Zoom calls and that. But obviously, as I've progressed and looked at what the requirements of the businesses are, there's quite a broad spectrum of skills across the region, right from putting Teams into your business, putting Microsoft 365, or literally a full digital unautomated process, such as places like Jaguar Land Rover and JCB. The other support that's available is for, again, for small businesses. They do digital webinars, which is what Lewis is on at the moment. That's a series of webinars to put digital at the heart of your business. There's an introduction webinar that's on demand at the moment. All of them as they progress through the next 12 months. We've decided to put them on demand as well as live, because obviously those people in those businesses are usually doing work as opposed to actually being able to sit on a webinar or something. So they are available to download. There's also a digital toolkit which gives things like links to training, case studies, things like putting tax digital, that sort of thing. And then there's a scheme that's in the process of being launched, which is Help to Grow Digital. And I think this might revert to part of what Suzanne was on about earlier in terms of powering up digital. I'm not sure whether it's part of the same process, but it offers support for putting digital, software and hardware into your business. So there's some funding for that, and there's also some funding around training. So the reach that we have is, you'd probably come to myself first to do a diagnostic. We'd look at your website. We'd do an analysis of how it works out. We'd look at the process of how you run your business. We'd then look at implementing any changes that we'd suggest. Once that was agreed, then Suzanne's Skills Hub would be involved in that process to be able to look at digital training, and also I think Fiona, who's on the call as well, in terms of looking at, now we've implemented your website and made sure it's working, what sort of, and she'll obviously speak about this later, but what sort of what sort of marketing expertise there is in a way of using your website. So that's really all from me. If you need to get in touch, obviously the details are here, or if you need to ask questions later, by all means, just drop us a line. Thank you. Thanks, Pam.
Lovely. Thank you, Alan, for that. Thank you. Brilliant overview. Okay, so the next round we're going to have a look at is the marketing support from our specialist advisor, Fiona Miller.
Morning everyone, thanks Pam. Just to highlight, if you can't see me speaking and you can only hear me and you do want to see me, you can just click on the top right for speaker view. Okay, thanks Pam, if you want to move on. So first of all, really, it's just a thank you to echo what Pam said, but thank you to the Chambers and the Festival of Business for having us today. We're really delighted to be part of the event, and if you would like to check out the other events on the website for the Festival of Business, I'm sure that you'll find many more useful ones. So as my colleagues have said, and I think you're used to hearing this now, but we are fully funded in the Growth Hub. So if you do have a session with myself, it is fully funded. You don't need to prepare. I get asked that question quite a lot. Do you need to bring marketing stats or anything along to the call? And actually it tends to unfold very organically. So we just work through a series of questions, and depending on those answers, I will tend to tailor it to the needs of your business. We look at a variety of topics, such as marketing strategy, marketing analysis, where you're up to at the moment, talk around your audience and the identification of those, and really defining the products or service, setting the goals, and then considering relevant channels. Now, a lot of people, when they feel that they need marketing support, usually say that I don't understand social media, or I want help with my social media. When we work through, and I'll show you 8 areas just shortly along in the presentation that will support you with that, a lot of the problems that people have with social media is they don't understand what they're doing it for, because there's no marketing strategy underpinning that. And actually, if we work backwards and we put that strategy together and really talk about why you're doing the social media, who you're aiming at, what you're promoting, then naturally you'll start to find content easier to generate, and that actually helps with your posting. We also have social media channels for the Growth Hub. I oversee those channels, so I'd be really grateful if you're not following already. If you want to go onto Twitter, it's Growth Hub Staffs, or if you look at Facebook and LinkedIn, it is just Stoke-on-Trent Staffordshire Growth Hub. So we promote all of our content on there. We also share partner content. If you're engaged already with the newsletters, which the marketing team send out, then this is an extension of that. But sometimes we break news quicker on the social media because it's quicker than sending the emails out. So please do follow there and get the conversation going with us. Next slide, please, Pam. Doing a Chris Whitty there. So customer journey. So sometimes when I work with businesses, I find that they feel that marketing is a minefield, and I hear things like, I'm not very good at marketing, I don't understand marketing, I've tried marketing in the past and it didn't work for me. So if you're feeling like that, it is quite normal within this field, and it's one of my biggest bugbears of my industry, really, that it's massively overcomplicated. And what I aim to do in my sessions is really strip it back down to basics so that we all have an understanding of where each piece of marketing fits in. So as you can see on the screen, and this is just something that I generated to try and explain that what I've just mentioned, that the blue line is any marketing that your business does, and the purple line is any journey that the customer goes on as part of making that decision whether to purchase from you. Now, we're all consumers, we all are customers for various businesses, both in our businesses and personal lives. And I think that we would recognise this journey. The first thing usually that we do if we spot something that we're interested in, whether that's through TV advertising, whether that's on a social media post, whether that's word of mouth and one of our peers in our network recommend a business, for business or personal lives, we usually, most of us, and I think you can identify, go off on this purple journey, whereby what we're looking to do is see, can we trust this business? Can we trust this product? Can we trust this service? And will the business who's selling that do exactly what they say they're going to do? And can I trust that business? So when we strip back why we have a website and social media and reviews and all the different elements of what I call your digital footprint, this is the way that we can pull it all together in our minds to realise why it's more important to make sure you've got a cohesive strategy, rather than, oh, actually this week I think I'll work on my social media, but I know the website's not been amended for 3 years because that's when the developer last did it. So if we consider this journey when we analyse our full digital footprint and think, for example, if you promoted your services on social media, what would their impression be if they Googled the business? Do you have a Google My Business profile with online reviews? So if you do, and they're good reviews, then that's a great first impression. Do you have a website that corresponds with the social media? Is the look and feel good? Do you regularly update blogs? Perhaps that's an area that you thought of but not put any time into yet. So these are all the kind of things that we can talk about on a one-to-one with myself. But hopefully just for today as a bit of a leave behind, you can start to see now how, if you didn't get why you did a little bit on each of all your platforms, this is how it fits into the customer journey. And this is why it's really important to consider the whole footprint and not just focus directly on social media or website, because actually what we're trying to do is leave our prospective customers with a good impression about the business, so that they pick up the phone, so that they buy online, so that they send us an email, whatever that method of contact is. And thank you for the chat. My email will be on the last slide of mine, so you'll be able to jot that down. Okay, so next slide, please, Pam. And finally, I mentioned there's going to be 8 areas for you to consider. Now, even if you don't have the time or you don't feel that it's a relevant piece for you at the moment to have a one-to-one with myself, if you just jot these headers down, and I know that Pam's going to send the slides around, so no need to get the pens out now, and have a think in this order about all these areas which are relevant to your business, I can pretty much guarantee that by the end of it, you will know where you're going with your marketing more than you did when you started. Now, you might already have a marketing strategy document. It could likely be, if you did that, you've had an agency do it a few years ago and it's a big beautiful document, but actually it sits in a cupboard because marketing falls by the wayside. It's the one thing that always does, because it's not always as time sensitive as other areas of the business. However, it is really important, as we all know. So external factors are anything that's happening outside of the business. Of course, we know at the moment that we've got an enormous one happening with the pandemic, and we've also had the EU exit recently, which will affect many businesses. You can also have factors within your sector. So you might know, for example, that there is different legislation coming in that's actually really going to affect the business eventually. So if you just jot those down, that'll really start to help you think. And this is really based upon a pestle analysis, if people have done those before. You can actually break your external factors down into a pestle analysis if that helps you to look at the different areas. So then you can look at internal factors. These are the ones we know inside and out because it's all inside the business, and try and relate that to marketing. So do you have resource? Who would be responsible for the marketing? Are there any gaps in that resource? If there are, what would you need? Do you need to go to an agency, or do you want to take on an apprentice or an intern, or even recruit marketing staff? And that's where Amanda can come in as well with that. Also as well, internal factors, do you have time available? Does the person responsible for marketing have enough time to dedicate to that? And are you geared up, ready to deliver this lovely strategy that you're going to put together? Number 3, the world experts that you are on your own businesses, you know your products and services inside and out. It might be and/or. Really have a good think about them. You might perhaps want to do a spider diagram, how they all link in together, and really start to focus on any key areas that you think you would like more of in the business, or that are going to be pertinent for you to be promoting. The one we all hate, the budget. If it's really low, it doesn't matter. There are loads of ways that you can market without budget or with a minimal budget. If you can put budget to it, great. You can get there quicker, but it certainly isn't going to be a block to doing some active marketing. The goals, what do you want to achieve? Now, you would want to tie these into your business plan. So if you say, and I spoke to a lovely, very ambitious business last week who want to double their turnover in 12 months, that's a business strategy goal. But actually it ties into your marketing strategy. So whatever goals you've got in the business, whether that's to grow and employ more staff, whether that's to penetrate a new area, whether that's to sell enough of your current products so that you can start to launch some new ones, whatever those goals are, just jot them down. And then you'll start to have a think about your audience. And I tend to find on the calls that you guys are the experts on your audience. I have a good understanding of many sectors just from the work that I've done over the years. But you know who your typical customer is, or your typical customer would be if you want to realign that audience and appeal to a new audience. So we can talk about that as well. Once you've done through 1 to 6, you'll naturally have your marketing messaging starting to develop, because you will know what you're promoting, to who and why. And for me, the why in marketing is the one thing that gets forgotten. So this is why people can start off all enthusiastic with a social media strategy, and a few weeks down the line or a few months down the line, when it's really low and a long hard slog, people just let it fall by the wayside. It's because they don't know why they're doing it. And usually that's because they go, oh, actually, I've heard as a business I really need social media channels, so let's get those social media channels going and let's put some content out. But if you don't know all of this beforehand, of course you're going to let it fall by the wayside, because it will be like pulling teeth. Every week you're going to struggle for new content. And actually, if you can underpin it with a strategy as basic as this one, but actually useful, then you will actually understand how it fits into the framework, and you will know what you're trying to achieve from it. And that naturally is going to give you more motivation to continue. And the harder you work at it and the longer you give it, the better results you're going to get from any of your channels. Now, channels is very linked to audience. So once you've done this exercise, you can start to use some common sense to think, okay, well, actually, I've got a product which is consumer facing. Therefore, likely Instagram and Facebook are going to be good for me, or I want to be looking at selling on Etsy. If your audience is predominantly business to business, then it may be that LinkedIn is great. LinkedIn's brilliant for professional services, senior level manufacturing. It might be that it's construction, so you need to think differently because actually they don't hang out naturally on those channels. So really, once you've got that audience, we can start to have a look at where to place the marketing, and of course that will link back with your budget as well. So I know that's just a very quick round robin. I hope it's got you all thinking. Please feel free. Pam's going to put my email address up in a second. Drop me a note. Let's get together. It's very small there. So for those who haven't got the glasses, it's fiona.miller@stokestaffsgrowthhub.co.uk. We are just, as you can imagine, facing a little bit of delay at the moment with appointments and working to around 3 or 4 weeks in advance, but I will get around to working with you all, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks, Pam.
Would help if I muted myself. Fiona, that was a brilliant overview. Thank you very much. Okay, so next advice I'm going to go to is Rich, talking about high growth. Over to you, Rich.
Thanks very much, Pam. Hi, yeah, my name's Richard Brace. I'm the Business Growth Advisor here at the Growth Hub. Bit about me, I've got a background in business-to-business market research and strategic consultancy, ran my own business for 20 odd years, and now I'm at the Growth Hub. And my job is to talk to companies about their growth and their growth strategy. And at the moment, it's been a mixture of talking to companies about recovering their growth post-COVID, because as we all know, a lot of companies have had the market pulled out from under them, been forced to close, that sort of thing, and their turnover's been decimated. And now that we are beginning to move out of lockdown and looking to recover that growth, but also to talk to companies that are doing well and are looking to push on and scale up their growth going forward. So how do you grow your business? Well, that's what we're all about at the Growth Hub. And you've heard from the other experts, and we all talk to each other, it all feeds in together. This slide here, I've got a list at the top there of things to consider with your growth strategy, and there are a lot of them. So things like looking at finance, what your cash position is, because if you're going to grow, you're likely going to need to invest. What about innovation and change within your business? So this would be, you know, Alan and people talking about digital change, innovative products and so forth, the day-to-day operations of the company, how you're running it, how it can be streamlined, done better. Is it appropriate to the current market conditions? You look at your supply chain, your sales and marketing activity, your staffing, training, have you got the skills in place that you need? Your own leadership. A lot of companies, when they're growing, especially SMEs, where there's a small team, you'll find that suddenly new leadership challenges are emerging all the time. So you need to consider those within your strategy. So how does all that stuff feed into your overall strategy? It's quite daunting. And as it says there, it's a daunting prospect, even if you find the time to think about it. And that, I think, is the crucial point. Where can we help? Well, we can sit down with you and talk about these things and kind of force you to think about them. Could I have the next slide, please, Pam? So we've got experience of working with SME companies in all sectors across Staffordshire. And we have the way that we help you is by providing the specialist fully funded growth diagnostics. What they do is get into the skin, under the skin of where you are, what you think you're doing well, what you think you're doing badly, where are your strengths, where are your weaknesses, what can you build upon, what you need to work upon. Now, once we've identified those things, that naturally leads into being able to develop a growth strategy to increase your sales in a sustainable way. So that means minimizing the risk, by building on your strengths and dealing with those weaknesses. Next slide, please, Pam. So how do we do that? Well, the diagnostics, we've got two sorts. Firstly, I would do a one-to-one meeting with you, and that can be on the telephone, on a Teams or Zoom, and hopefully soon face-to-face, and go through all of those issues mentioned previously. So find out all about your business, what you're doing, what you're doing in relation to all of those issues that we mentioned on the previous slides. At that stage, that would probably give us enough to be able to make recommendations on areas of specific support that might be helpful to you, and to offer advice on how you can develop your growth strategy. But we also have an online diagnostic tool which we can use called Growth Mapper. And this is great fun. It's it's basically a simple questionnaire, and we have two versions of it. One of them is called Recovery Mapper, and that's for companies that are looking to recover their growth. And the other one is called High Growth, for companies looking to really scale up their future growth potential. And I'll talk about the high growth one here. And that's based on 100 questions, yes, no answers. So it's a binary survey, and the analysis is done by computer. But it's despite that, it's a great survey. It's quick, it only takes 15 minutes for you to complete, and it can be completed by up to 8 members of your senior management team. So it gives everyone a chance to have their say, and you can see how well you all agree with each other or disagree with each other in terms of your perceptions of where you are against various key business issues. Now, by doing this, we can discover what's working well and where the opportunities for improvement exist within the organisation against these key business issues. It then benchmarks your performance against the A, B or C rated businesses from the surveys that have been conducted over the last 20 years that this Growth Mapper diagnostic has been in existence. So what's the benefit for you? Well, it gives you an opportunity to validate your current business plan. So what you're doing at the moment, are you doing well? What's going well? What's going badly? And it gives you the opportunity to work on the business rather than in the business. So it's getting back to that point about finding the time to do this. And yeah, it's the first step in drafting your future growth strategy. I find time and again that companies want to grow, but they just simply can't find the time to sit down and meet all together as an SMT and discuss what they're going to do. And this kind of forces your hand into doing it. Next slide, please, Pam. So, details of the Growth Mapper. You can see in the little graphic there on the right-hand side that there are some points down there. So this survey looks at these specific issues. It looks at your strategy, the cash position, your marketing and sales activity, the leadership, how well that's performing, access to finance, innovation, people and skills, operations, sustainability in terms of your environmental importance, your environmental performance, which is becoming more important as each day passes, and change, so evolving your business. So those are the key areas, and what this is doing is delivering a picture of how you perceive you are doing in each of those areas, which is crucial because you know more about your business than anyone else does, and you will know in your heart how you're doing. And it then gives us all the information we need to help you develop your strategic growth plan. And it benchmarks your performance against the results from the diagnostics that I mentioned that have been conducted with over 30,000 companies over the last 20 years by the company delivering this Growth Mapper survey. Next slide, please, Pam. So we do all these diagnostics. After we've done that, we're then in a position to offer the advice, information, referrals to relevant experts. We have over 120 different delivery partners that we can make referrals to, and business programs. And this will enable you to fully develop that growth strategy. And as far as that growth strategy is concerned, it is many and varied. It depends entirely on the exact business, but it can range from, as it says here, increasing penetration of your existing markets. So that's, you know, carrying on doing what you're doing, but more of it, getting, you know, selling more to your existing customers, getting more customers like the ones you've already got. It could be market development, and that can be through new products and services, through innovation, or new customer segments, so slightly different customers, but selling them the same products. Or it could be new territories, whether that's, you know, outside of the South Staffordshire region, locally, or it could be nationally, or it could be internationally. Then you can be looking at new channels to market. So that can be through direct sales, through distributors, agents, online. At the moment, the pandemic has forced everyone's hand into the online route, but this is where doing the diagnostic and examining what's going on in your business, and indeed external factors, will help there. Product service profitability analysis. I mean, that's really a really good starting point. A lot of companies, when they think about growing, they think increasing turnover, that's the way to go. But actually, what you want to do is increase your profitability. So it might be that you don't actually increase the size of your company, but concentrate more on the profitable work that you're doing and increase your profit there. You could be looking at diversification opportunities, you know, doing something rather different. Or you could be looking even at acquisitions, mergers, and so forth. It's quite an endless list, really. So, as it says, the potential's there. Get in touch. If you could go to the next slide, please, Pam. That's my details there. If you're interested in exploring your growth strategy, give me a call. Thank you very much.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you very much, Rich. Thank you. What I'm going to do is let's take a 5-minute comfort break, just to stretch your legs, grab a cup of tea, nip to the loo, if everybody's okay with that, and resume at 5 past. And then we'll look at the Business Finance Hub with FinPoint, and I'll take you through the grant funding that's available for the areas as well. Is everybody okay with that, just to grab 5 minutes?
Yeah, sorry, Pam, it's 5 past at the moment, so should we do 10 past?
Oh, sorry. Oh, you're right. Yeah, it's my contact lenses. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, 10 past, 5 minutes. Brilliant. Okay, see you in a sec. Back. So the next programme of support we're going to look at is Business Finance Hub from a company called FinPoint, who will take you through this scheme, delivered by Adrian. Adrian, over to you.
Yeah, thanks very much, Pam. I think we're going to go to some slide, are we?
Okay.
Right, so having listened to the previous presentations, I think the key thing that springs to mind is the how, the why. When we talk about training, marketing, growth, sustainability, digital presence, resources, HR recruitment, marketing strategy, I think fundamentally we need to actually be able to pay the bills and you know, seek funding to help the growth strategy along the way. So my presentation, as short as it will be, because I'm keen to make sure there's enough time for Q&A, is about what FinPoint can do, you know, in relation to the Business Finance Hub and what we do to actually help people find funding. So if we look at the recovery loan scheme for a couple of seconds, minutes, if whatever, you know, we had bounce back loans, we had CBIL loans, you know, that expired on the 31st of March, and then The funders had a couple of months to continue to execute on the deployment of those funds. And the recovery loan scheme was introduced on the 6th of April. I personally, having had 35 years in banking, was incredibly under-impressed with what the recovery loan scheme offered. It's no different to what used to be called small firm loan guarantee or EFG in its early days, and it was never really taken up significantly by any funder, i.e. bank and or alternative funder, although it wasn't available to alternative funders through asset finance until probably about 2.5 years ago. So I don't think the scheme is appropriate. I don't think it will help businesses really sort of get the funding they need, because one of the key things UK Business Finance BBB said was that if a funder can offer commercial rates and on commercial terms, it should then not rely on the recovery loan scheme in relation to an 80% guarantee coming through. I'll come on to what FinPoint does and how we help businesses, but we have 136 funders on our panel. We are completely impartial. We work with a lot of chambers up and down the UK. We work exclusively with the FSB, and we work exclusively with UK Business Finance BBB in relation to helping the businesses find the right funding solution. And the biggest issue we come across, I suppose, is Richard talked about profitability. Maybe a reduction in turnover, but an increase in profitability, and it's cash that pays the bills. And most businesses, unfortunately, don't really understand their cash flow cycle. And when they talk about, I need money for working capital, be it marketing, be it strategy, be it HR, recruitment, whatever it is, it's actually looking at the balance sheet to see why that money is tied up in the balance sheet. Are your debtors taking longer to pay? Are you holding on to more stock than what you should be holding on to? What's happened in the cash flow cycle? It doesn't mean you have the cash available to actually pay the bills that you want to pay. So cash pays the bills, not profitability. So it's understanding. I've seen a lot of good profitable businesses go under because they don't have the funds available because of one restriction or other. More often than not, either they're paying the creditors too early or the debtors are paying too late. So within the platform, we cover all types of funding. I like to say, as long as it's legal and legitimate, we will have a funder that will consider funding it. So we have 136 funders on panel. That ranges from your high street banks, your Lloyds, your Barclays, your HSBCs, your NatWest, your RBSs, to alternative lenders, Ultimate Finance, Ultimate Capital, iWalker, Just Cash Flow, the full plethora. And the way the platform works in reality is having one application into the platform and allowing what I like to call a commercial dating agency with the proprietary technology we have on the platform, is it matches your funding requirements with funders who have a credit appetite for that product or service, be it asset finance, business loans, invoice finance, growth capital, pensions. You can see it on the screen, trade finance there. As I've said, as long as it's legal and legitimate, we will have a funder who would consider funding it. However, that consider funding it is down to debt serviceability and the ability to be able to repay and prove, you can actually repay, which is incredibly difficult just now. Most businesses that I know that have been through 14 months of turmoil are just reopening. And if you're asking to produce, bank statements or even cash flow projections going forward, it's about the assumptions on those cash flow projections, how you're actually going to retain and return to the business levels that you've generated previously. We also assist with R&D tax credits. And one of the things I've seen over the last year and a bit is the innovation in businesses, moving away from the high street, footfall effectively into digital presence and being able to actually generate sales, on the back of a digital presence as opposed to somebody actually walking through the front door, which might not happen and may not continue to happen going forward. Can we move on to the next slide if that's okay? So what we have is we've got a team of experts. Myself, I'm 35 years banker for my sins. I've done SME, small business, corporate, leverage, you name it. I've been involved in some transactions over the years, and multi-million-pound transactions down to £5,000 transactions. But we have experts who will actually hold your hand and help mediate with the funders for you. So one application will effectively allow you to engage with a significant number of funders. On average, you know, your application will be, okay, on average, your application will be seen by anything between 5 to 12 different funders. And then it's about the engagement with those funders, and it's making sure that, one, they truly understand the purpose of why you need to borrow the money. Two, we understand your ability to repay. So we're looking at flexibility. You know, can we do interest only for a period, allowing the recovery to kick in and then go into, you know, an element of capital and interest repayment method. So, you know, again, the sort of reasons there for people needing funding is listed, but, you know, it's truly understanding the reason of why the cash flow cycle isn't working, and the ability to be able to actually influence that, and therefore, you know, bring the money in, the revenue, and actually need to generate what you need to pay the bills effectively. If we go on to the slide 3, so key benefits of what FinPoint offers, I suppose, is our service is completely free of charge. So if you approach and come through, you know, the Business Finance Hub, you know, and we present that deal to Lloyds, Barclays, HSBC, or alternative funder, Funding Circle, like Walker, Just Cashflow, you're not going to get charged any more than what you would have been charged anyway by that funder. Our funds, the way we get paid effectively, is a commission payment back from the funder, and that is their cost to originate, because of the number of opportunities we're presenting to them on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis. No footprint. So therefore, when you engage with a funder and we start to get heads of terms from that funder, there's no credit searches done until we actually press the button and say, yes, we want to, you know, fully explore, you know, following credit searches and get final heads of terms on that from that side of it. Multiple funders. So, you know, invoice finance, asset finance, I've touched on, trade finance. You know, we will link you up with a number of funders, but everything is within your control. So when we publish your application, we publish it what we call anonymously. So the funder will see the amount of money you want to borrow, they'll see your project description, they'll see the reason why you need to borrow the money, and that's it. It's only when the funder will effect a connection with you and you accept that connection, will the funder get to see the full financial information you provided. And generally we're looking at, you know, financial statements, annualized accounts, and we're looking at bank statements. First of all, so we can approve and look at debt serviceability from that side of it. So it's completely within your control and the person you're dealing with within FinPoint to engage with funders. We cannot advise on who you should go with, but we can give you enough information to allow you to make an informed decision on what is the best option for your business. So some people will take funding for stock over a 5-year period. Now, stock funding over a 5-year period is not appropriate because you should be selling that stock within a period of time. So it may be a revolving credit facility is more appropriate at that time. Some people have a significant number of debtors in the debtor ledger, so therefore invoice finance might be appropriate. Some people might want to buy assets, so therefore they might want to buy machinery, equipment, or vehicles, and therefore an asset finance facility might be appropriate. So it's understanding the true reason of why you need the money, why your money is tied up in your balance sheet, your debtor ledger. Impartial finance experts, we are here to help you. We're here to negotiate. We take the pressure off you and, you know, have educated conversations with funders. Now, within any commercial world, there's never going to be an algorithm that will decide an answer. There's got to be an element of grey within the black and white within commercial decisions. And sometimes it's down to the story. And it's how you speak to the funder and educate the story of what's happened in the past. You know, the last 14 months of the pandemic and, you know, the loss of business due to businesses having been closed. And the cash flow forecast, you know, is incredibly important. And a lot of businesses I talk to, they don't understand the cash flow forecast. Their accountant has done it for them. You know, and they're relying on the figures, and I'll say to them, okay, you're going to generate £500,000 of turnover. How are you going to do that? How many widgets you can have to sell to generate that level of turnover? And it's truly understanding, you know, basically the assumptions that go into the cash flow forecast, where we can engage with that funder on your behalf and educate the funder, but also not influence the funder, that's the wrong word, but, you know, help the funder be able to make a decision on that application. Whereas if you want to go algorithm based, we have, you know, plenty, you know, funders on our platform that are purely algorithm but the majority of funding that you'll talk about in the commercial world is never going to be black or white. There's always going to be an element of grey. So when I talk about the last one, I suppose, you know, we engage with banks, we engage with alternative funders. We have 136 funders on panel where we can speak to and engage with them. We're doing it on a daily basis about different opportunities and funders and borrowers that are looking for money, and explaining the rationale of how we can make the deal work and complete that deal. If you consider yourself applying to, let's say, Royal Bank of Scotland, Lloyds, Barclays, NatWest, and then going to alternative funders, you're going to have to engage with 10 or 15 different people and get confused. Whereas going through ourselves, we will engage on your behalf. The proprietary technology will auto match make for who the funders are there that are actually active at the moment. Biggest issue we're going to have in the next 14 months, 16 months, is the banks are going to be inward refocused. £76 billion went out in either Sybil's or Bibble funding. We know from an estimate that 23 billion of that is going to be bad or doubtful or fraudulent to a certain degree. So all your banks are going to be tied up looking at their internal processes for debt recovery, and they're not attractive to lending at the moment. I got an approval from, you know, I won't name the bank, just yesterday for £375,000, and it was a good approval. It was a good offer. I said, yeah, we want to progress and we want to activate and we want to execute on it. And they said, oh, sorry, we can't open a bank account for you. I'm saying, but you put an offer out, but you can't open a bank account. Yeah, we're not accepting new customers at the moment. And I said, well, why offer? Right, so it's going to be, you know, 2 or 3 months before this particular bank will be opening new accounts or accepting new customers. And the majority of the banks are going to be like that as well. And that's where we can help navigate the mire that is, you know, your funding solution, and be able to assist in that funding solution. And I come back to the principle I said at the beginning. It doesn't cost you anything at all to use us. You can use it just for advice. You can use us for quotes. You know, I've had borrowers use us purely for comparable evidence of the opportunity that is being offered from a different funder that is acceptable. Therefore, they can then present to the board and say, well, we've done a bit of comparable evidence, and the offer we're being offered from ABC Bank or ABC funder is appropriate, fair and appropriate in the pricing, and the interest rates and the fees are, you know, applicable to the proposition there. So, you know, the work we do, you know, is incredibly beneficial, even more so in today's climate, where, you know, we don't know how many funders will be accredited with RSL, Recovery Loan Scheme. You know, to date, I think there's 34 of them. How many will actually fund under it? So there's a particular funder that has come out and said to us, we will make the decision whether it's commercial or whether it's a recovery loan scheme. So even somebody applying for a recovery loan scheme doesn't necessarily mean they'll get a recovery loan scheme and engage the government support at 80% of that guarantee. It's down to the commercial funder from that side of it. So, you know, this isn't depression, recession of 2008 that was caused by the banks. This is depression and recession has been caused by a pandemic. Yeah. So let's work with the funders that we've got and the multiple funders we have on panel to try and help businesses secure what they need. And if I jump back what the previous presenters were talking about, and you know, I'll go back to marketing, growth, sustainability, digital presence, resource, investment, HR, marketing strategy, that all needs to be paid for somehow. You know, okay, yeah, grants might be match funded, but there's a funding element there. You need to understand your business, you need to understand your cash flow cycle, you need to understand the ability to actually repay debt. And that's what we're here for as experts, to be able to help you actually navigate the opportunity, but also put you in front of, you know, a significant number of funders that can assist you deliver on your expectations and also help you deliver on your growth expectations. I think I've spoken for about 8 minutes without pausing for breath. So I'll probably pause just now and see if there is any questions.
Lovely, thank you, Adrian. Does anybody have any questions for Adrian before I just move on to the last little bit of the presentation? Anybody want to shout out any questions? I don't think there's any in the chat box. Let me just double check. I know Gary's been busy in the background there connecting with people, which is great. Okay, lovely. Thank you, Adrian, for that overview. So the last bit of the presentation, I'm just going to take you through the local enterprise grants that are available. So you've got me for a whistle-stop tour for 5 minutes. Okay, and like I said, we're going to send these slides out, so this will give you a bit of an overview. So obviously under the Growth Hub, we specialise in all kinds of the areas. We've helped over the last 12 months, we have helped over 10,000 businesses, which is a massive, achievement. Whenever you speak on the helpline, you just don't know what's coming through at all. It can be any subject, any matter at all. I mean, I managed a business helpline for a week, a couple of weeks ago, and you just don't know what's you don't know what's coming through. I had this poor guy trying to find his petrol tank under his land. So it's knowing who to signpost them to the correct support. The Growth Hub also we run loads of events on business subjects, so it's all a pool of support for you businesses out there. Okay, so I just want to take you through the current grant schemes that are available to you. So just starting at the top, we've got the Small Business Grant Scheme so that's headed up by Staffordshire County Council. Now in the first column, you've got type, so it could be capital and revenue or capital. So what that means in layman's terms is basically capital. It could be capital equipment, which are fixable assets within your business. So say if you were looking for an office or you were fitting out a manufacturing unit, it could be shelving, racking, CCTV, PC, computers, servers, and so on. When it talks about revenue, it could be a CRM, software marketing, digital marketing, developing an app, any exhibition equipment. In the next column, it says intervention. So what intervention means is basically what the funder is going to match fund the amount with. Now, with any grant you go for, basically how it works, they're all job creation and you've got to be demonstrating business growth. So with the funder, they'll expect you to go through the application process, fill it all in, get your quotes, be awarded the grant. So it's not called what's retrospective. So you need to have been awarded the grant first. So you will spend out the full amount first, and then you claim that intervention rate back from either the local authorities or the funding provider, whichever scheme you've gone for. So the next column you've got there, the amount. So that's the amount that they're going to put in. So say like with the Small Business Grant Scheme, the one on the top, the minimum you can apply for is £1,500 and the maximum is £10,000. Now their intervention rate is 60%, which is a really good rate. The area is across Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire. Now all of these schemes are postcode defined, so it can't go out of the area because obviously that funding relates to the, like I mentioned, the postcodes. So the Small Business Grant Scheme, that's live at the minute. We've also got the Staffordshire Thrive, which is also Staffordshire County Council. Now this is a capital and revenue grant on the back of COVID. So people can apply if you're a limited company, if you're looking for any capital equipment, any new websites, if you're developing an app. Now the intervention rate here is 100%. So they're offering a grant of between £2,000 and £5,000. So you don't need to pay this back, you don't match fund it. And there's no allocation per job either. And it's being offered to Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire postcodes, like I've just mentioned. We've then got what's called an investment readiness programme. So this type of grant will help you with funding any consultancy that's got to do like your business planning and paying your accountant for any forecasting that you have to do, which is part of the grant criteria. Now this is paying up to 60%, and you can have up to £3,000 that you can apply for. There's no job creation on this one, and like I mentioned, it's across Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire. We then come down to the Staffordshire BIC. So if you're looking at innovation, developing a product or a digital app, you can tap into this grant. They're paying 37%, and the grant goes up to £5,000 that you can apply for. They haven't got an allocation per job, and same again, it's across Stoke-on-Trent and Staffs. There's also the Smart Concept Fund, which is back open. This supports innovation, product development and proof of concept. So this is paying 55% and it's going up to 16,500 with no allocation per job. Same again across Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire. Then we've got a couple of programs from Keel. Now they operate like a four-pronged approach to the Keel business, which is like under their umbrella. So if you're looking at innovation or new product development, you can get the academic expertise within the business of up to £2,000, the value of. So you're actually using the Keel graduates and obviously their knowledge and expertise to develop a product or within your business, or obviously innovation. Also, they've got the Keel Business Bridge Healthcare Programme, which you can tap into £7,000 worth of innovation vouchers. Same again, it is the academic expertise that you are paying for. We then have the Manufacturing Growth Programme. So this has a capital and revenue type attached to this grant. Now they are paying 35% intervention rate. So any capital equipment and any revenue, like I've just explained, and that goes up to 3,500. Now the Manufacturing Growth Programme, if you're implementing ISO at all and you need to be, the criteria, you need to be a manufacturer of some kind, then they do provide 5 days consultancy, which you can get the grant for. And then obviously the accreditation, you would need to apply to another grant to actually get the accreditation in place. We have the SBEN, which is a low carbon business evolution programme. This is all around environmental, green energy, and this is paid for capital and revenue. Intervention rate on this is 60%, and this is paying between 2 and 20,000, no job creation, and across Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire. We've also got the Business Growth Programme, which is known as a BGP2. Now this is headed up by Birmingham City Council. This is capital and revenue again. Now this is what I call a bit of an all-rounder grant. It does come across to the GBS LEP areas, which is East Staffs, Cannock, Lichfield and Tamworth only. Now this offers between 10,000 and it goes up to 1 million. So every 10,000 you apply for needs to create at least one full-time job. Now, at the minute, they are fully committed, but they are looking to get an extension in place. When that happens, we'll release it in the Growth Hub newsletter. But they're not taking any applications at the minute or expressions of interest. Then at the bottom, we've got the local authorities grant. So with Cannock, we've got a Let's Get Started grant. Same again, they're paying for capital and revenue. Intervention on that is 50%. It's 1,500, so this is more of like a startup grant. So if you're a startup business and you've been trading up to 6 months, then you can tap into this. Now with this local authority grant, it's different from the ones above because their criteria is if your customers are either business to business or business to consumer, which is your general public, you can apply for this grant. They've also got the Let's Grow grant, which is for existing businesses, so 6 months more, 50% intervention, anything capital and revenue, and they'll pay up to £5,000. Same again, eligibility is business to business or business to consumer. The Small Business Grant Scheme, the Startup, which is a programme called Enterprise for Success, and it's run by a company called Blue Orchid. So these are literally all over the GBS LEP area and also Worcestershire, Birmingham and Redditch. You need to go through a series of business planning and marketing workshops first to then be enabled to apply for the up to £3,000 startup grant with any of the local authorities. So the ones in this area, obviously East Staffs, Cannock, Lichfield and Tamworth are all signed up to this scheme. We've then got at the bottom, which is the last one, East Staffs Borough Council have just brought one out. It's called the Small Grant Scheme, the Springboard Scheme. Now, theirs is capital and revenue. The intervention rate, they're actually paying up to 60%. And they will pay If you've got, if you're a new business, they will pay between £500 up to £5,000. If you're an existing business, you can apply for minimum of £500 up to £10,000. There is job creation, but that's depending on your application, and they assess them as they go through panel. The only criteria they ask is obviously you've got to be a Burton registered business to apply. And there's good news for 2 or 3 of you that are on the Zoom call today. They do actually go business to business and business to consumer, which is where businesses in the past have struggled to get if you're trading more than 60% business to consumer, which is general public, which has been a barrier to some businesses. Okay, so that's a bit of a whistle-stop tour there. Let me just check if we've got any questions. Okay, I'm a bit conscious of the time because we've just gone across 1:30. So if I can just say a massive thank you to you, one for the delegates for attending and listening to us for an hour and a half. Here are our contact details for the Stoke-on-Trent Staffordshire Growth Hub business helpline. Please reach out to us, have a chat with the advisors to see what business support you can tap into. There's the email address there if you can email the business inquiries if you haven't got time to phone, and also sign up for our newsletter, look at our resource hub and the events on our website. So there's quite a lot of information that you've had today. Same again, we will be sending the slides out. You know, some fantastic presentations, and thank you all for attending, and I hope you've got something from it, and please reach out to us if you need us. Okay, have a great day everybody. Thank you. Bye bye now.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Thank you.